hype is real. The players are now taking the stage, and we're getting ready for our first game. We wanted to talk about here for a moment Cammy and Jacob. So not that long ago, we kind of talked about Seti, right? And I feel like what's happening right now is Seti, typically when you look at this duo, Seti and Cammy, they kind of come into tournaments real quiet, under the radar. And now you're telling me, Tokata, we have Seti already doing that. And now on the other end of Slurp Rush, we have Cammy and Jacob doing the same thing?
That's the interesting part, right? They are literally on the complete opposite side of the map. Now it's a full Polish duo, and when we think of strategy, we think of meta. I know they have something hidden up their sleeves. I always see them practicing. They are always locked in, and I'm excited to see kind of what that secret's gonna be.
A couple of our duos competing today, obviously they're flying under the radar. It's no surprise that Cammy and Jacob are one of those duos, but I think they're comfortable being like that, right? Cammy and Seti kind of like to do that when they're playing those FNCS majors, so no surprise. We're not really hearing a lot about this duo right now.
You're talking about teams flying under the radar. A team not flying under the radar is Nick A30 and Queasy. I mean, what a combo. You can already hear the cheering again. Nick A30 is such an incredible personality for Fortnite, joined by Queasy, one of the best IGLs Takata.
What's interesting about Nick A30 is before Fortnite, he was actually studying to become a doctor. So now paired up with the GOAT IGL, he is gonna have all the resources needed to keep him alive and play that support role.
Well, obviously, Queasy, one of the GOATs when it comes to the IGL category. Talking about Fortnite, are they going to be able to pull off the typical surgical procedure that is take height, don't die?
I love it. You know, and after yesterday, we had these practice games to look at, and unfortunately, Nick had a moment where he kind of crash padded Queasy back in the storm. So I said, hey, Nick, I kind of walked up and said, hey, Nick, what is the one thing we're not doing tomorrow? He said, you saw the crash pad play, didn't you? You know, and I said, of course I did, Nick. And he's like, hey, look, Zeke, tomorrow that's not happening. Don't worry. And of course, the fact that we saw them on height, I love that you're kind of saying that kind of clinical, surgical precision, bro. I was like, wait a minute, are we watching a Pro-Am or are we watching FNCS?
I mean, it's going to be a guarantee. We're going to see Queasy, we're going to see Nick A30 up on the high ground. Are they going to be able to control it, right? Maintain it? We'll have to see.
That's the difficult part, right? It did get taken from them in last moments, but it was because of a questionable crash pad play. So, you know, they had moments to practice. It was good. It was a practice game. Today is the real deal.
The one concern I have for this duo isn't about being contested, isn't about being able to play well, is how is Nick A30 going to deal with Queasy's language? We know that all the people competing here are going to be streaming their perspective, so we know, and also there's going to be some listen-ins as well. We got a lot of possible chaoticness for the family-friendly player.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to kind of talk about, you know, chaos, right? That's what Reload's all about. If we're taking a look at some of the items that we might expect some of our competitors to go ahead and pick up today. Mobility being one of the most important things whenever we talk about Fortnite competitive. There's actually so much mobility in a Reload, right? We got the shockwaves, obviously those breaking builds. Those are going to cause some chaos. We got the grapplers. You can make so many, you know, crazy plays with that. Avoid fall damage. You know, jump on the high ground with that pretty easily. The crash pads that we were kind of talking about, they send you so far. When we're talking about a smaller map, it feels like they send you halfway across the map.
And also thinking about strategies. There's a lot of mobility, but also, look, I don't want to leak it for the players, right? But seeing the practice games, if you're uncontested, we saw some duos just send the pro player somewhere else, let them battle it out. The creator farmed up the mats, got all the loot, got everything they needed to play out the later parts of the match. And hey, if the pro gets eliminated, you just reload back in, take all that loot. So I'm curious to see if we see that come to play.
I mean, yeah, that was a strategy that we saw in Major 2, right? With the new reboot purchasing that you can do. That is definitely a competitive level strategy. And that's what we need right now. A lot of these players prepping, getting ready. It has been all about the scrimming and the VOD reviewing for these duos. Who has been able to put in the most practice? How have they synergized as duos? Because this is it. This is the Pro-Am, right? We haven't had one in 5 years. A lot is on the line right now.
Vibes, I mean, at an all-time high, right? Obviously, there is definitely some more competitive edge, but there's also just like a lot of fun, kind of bringing together, you know, both ends of the same coin, right? Hyper competitive FNCS, and then content creators, right? Who, when you bring them together, it's like we're one big family coming together once again. I mean, again, having old OGs coming together and be like, yeah, I still rock Fortnite. Yeah, you want a 1v1? Oh, I just dumped you? That's crazy.
Yeah, I heard you guys talking, saying that there's already people before the show even started being like, we need another one next year, and the games hadn't even started yet.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. As we were kind of going down the line right there and showing some of our duos get locked in, start to, you know, talk some strategy with each other. I saw Thomas HD and Somerset kind of pop in, and that made me, remember a conversation that I had with Somerset just earlier on today, and I think it's very, very important because this is something that we can talk about when it comes to every single duo. I was like, hey, Summer, how you feeling? She was like, surprisingly, I'm not nervous at all. I think that's like really, really big because, from her perspective, it's like, oh yeah, she's used to being nervous when it comes to competitive events. She's finally kind of hit her stride where the nerves are finally going away, and she's going to be able to lock into the competition.
Yeah, confidence is key, especially when eliminations, I mean, we talked about it, 10 elims is the equivalent of a victory royale. So if you're able to just farm a good amount of elims at the start of the match, you have a very good shot of getting first place. Now, what I'm thinking about as well, we've had a bit of drop spot changes, but maybe we've had a little bit of drop spot baits, right? I know Mongrel Allier said they were landing on Peterbot and Aussie Antics. Will they actually do that now that it's game time? Reason Faxvidi said they're landing on Cooper Zemi and Gone and Flakes. That's like 3 of the most powerful duos in the same POI. I don't know if it's really going to happen.
I mean, did you see Aussie Antics video of Ali A watching Peterbot build? I don't know if they're going to be dropping, and if they are, they're going to be doing it very carefully. But like you guys are saying, it's all about the vibes. We've had so much fun. There's just been so much content going out. We also have a lot of co-streamers up in the audience right now. There's people representing so many different regions. This is what Fortnite is all about.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very excited to kind of jump into the action. Gosh, Zeke, I got a question for you, Zeke. Obviously you kind of punched in your ticket, Clix and Lacey yesterday. Lacey, after his extensive VOD review session last night, how you felt about your pick?
I wasn't aware of the VOD review session personally, but listen, this is still Clix, this is still Lacey, Clix is looking really good, right? Again, we had kind of 3 practice games yesterday we got to watch. We got to kind of clue in, see how things are kind of going. Clix, to him, it looks like I'm just watching Major 2, right? It looks like I'm just watching the same Clix I just got done watching. And of course with Lacey, like, yeah, this guy loves content, of course, but he knows how much Clix wants it. He knows what this means to Clix. When the time comes, he will lock in.
We all know the ongoing joke of the 4th place curse from Clix. Unfortunately, getting 4th place again with Veno back last year. And then this year, getting 3rd place in Major 1. Major 2, he gets 2nd place. We were already talking about if Thomas HD wins, would this officially be his first FNCS title? Well, what about that question for Clix?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are kind of, I've seen it on socials a lot. Clix is actually in his prime right now. Definitely those placements, they're kind of backing it up. We're talking about storylines when it comes down to primes and everything like that. Why don't we go ahead and focus in on Mr. Savage and Lachlan, right? Mr. Savage was retired from Fortnite Competitive earlier this year, and it did not take long before he kind of rejoined us for Major 2, joined another trio, got right back into the action, so I think he's locked in right there. The thing that I love about Mr. Savage is that, I remember competing against Guy, and he always had his supporter creator, but he was always like 200 IQ, because everybody always kind of coined him as the smartest player. Of course, now we could see it right a couple minutes ago, right? They changed his code now to code Mr. Savage, but still has those smarts.
Has the IQ from retired to qualifying grand finals, but now competing here at the Pro-Am, and you're talking about, does it count as an FNCS win? Well, if it does, if Mr. Savage Lachlan wins, even Peterbot Aussie Antics, that means Aussie Antics is an FNCS win. He does it, and Clix does it. That is definitely gonna be a funny ongoing joke.
I mean, how can you not be entertained, right? And again, the fact that this is Reload, obviously in FNCS we watch, someone goes down, it's like, well, see you next game. Now someone goes out, it's like, okay, well, they're reloading back in. How do we kind of approach this new situation? Does Thomas HD have a mammoth pistol halfway across the map? Did he catch you coming from the sky? Like, there's so many cool things, and of course with the loophole that is Reload, there's so much chaos that can happen. From even opening a single chest.
I think it's important to kind of talk about, yeah, you're going to kind of get reloaded, right? Obviously, you're going to be flying in the sky. You're pretty exposed, and we kind of see how that kind of works out in competitions before, whenever there's like launch pads in the lobby, in the loophole. But there was a change not too long ago to kind of avoid some of that, right? Make sure you can kind of glide down further, closer to the land, have a little bit more immunity. Yeah, it kind of prevents some of those beams coming out of the sky. I can tell you right now, from the practice games yesterday, with these professional players in the lobby, it feels like it almost changed nothing.
Yeah, it really did not. I mean, the aim of these players is on a whole other level. And what I'm thinking is, in a lot of the performance evaluations, the players are playing safe. They were, hiding the box, going for the late games, and trying to get a good placement. Because in those end games, you are going to get a lot of opportunities for eliminations. But I'm trying to think to myself, okay, if you're low ground, you're going to have a lot of opportunities, players dropping down, running out of mats, a lot of elims. High ground,